Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gotham Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister and BJP leader Narendra Modi says his party's promises have always been fulfilled at an election rally in Rajasthan on a day the Congress releases its manifesto promising caste census and jobs for all. India's central bank keeps key interest rates unchanged at 6.5% for the seventh time. Also retains FY25 GDP growth rate estimate at 7%. RBI governor says the focus remains on aligning inflation to the 4% target. Israel dismisses 2 senior officers after finding grave errors in the killing of 7 aid workers. Also agrees to open new routes for increased flow of aid to Gaza after US President Joe Biden's dire warning to Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Kremlin says strategic security issues, including space-based weapons, are the main areas for dialogue with the US as America plans a UNSC resolution to ban deployment of nukes in space next week. And Britain's Rishi Sunak proclaims his love for cricket, announces a £35 million package which will primarily go into building 16 all-weather domes in cities set to host T20 World Cup matches in 2026 and 2030. First up, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election. Now, with the first phase of the 7-phase general elections around the corner, political leaders in India are busy on the campaign trail. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a rally in the northwestern Indian state of Rajasthan on Friday, elaborating on how his promises come with a guarantee. Here's a report.
With just a fortnight left for the general elections in India, political fever goes high across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a rally in the northwestern Indian state of Rajasthan. Addressing the rally, PM Modi said the works done by his government in the last 10 years are like a trailer, as there is more to come in the future.
जो अब तक हुआ है ना, वो तो ट्रेलर है, ट्रेलर। आप आजकल बड़ी-बड़ी होटल में खाना खाने जाते हैं ना, तो पहले एपेटाइजर लेकर के आते हैं। थोड़ी-थोड़ी 2-3-4 जरा बड़ी चटाकेदार चीजें परोसते हैं। तो कभी लगता है यार इतना आ गया, पेट तो भर गया, आप खाना क्या खाएंगे? ये जो मोदी ने किया है ना, वो तो एपेटाइजर है, एपेटाइजर। अभी तो पूरी खाने की थाली आधी बाकी है।
The Prime Minister was campaigning for Paralympic gold medalist Devendra Jhajharia. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party has fielded Jhajharia from the Churu Lok Sabha constituency in Rajasthan. PM Modi also attacked the Congress party and said the economic situation had worsened due to the Congress scams and loot.
आप याद करिए 10 साल पहले तब देश कितनी खस्ता हालत में था। कांग्रेस के बड़े-बड़े घोटालों और लूट के कारण अर्थव्यवस्था चरमरा गई थी।
Prime Minister Modi's remarks come on the day when Congress released its election manifesto. Meanwhile, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi attacked Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying he has a monopoly in political finance by exploiting central investigating agencies.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने पॉलिटिकल फाइनेंस की मोनोपोली बनाई है। कैसे बनाई है? ईडी, सीबीआई, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट का प्रयोग करके।
हम इलेक्शन के बाद
While in the eastern Indian state of West Bengal, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee launched a scathing attack on the BJP. She accused the ruling party in the country of failing to address the concerns of the tea garden workers.
बीजेपी का गारंटी जीरो। आज तक कुछ किया है? 10 साल बीजेपी जीता है, एमएलए जीता है, एमपी जीता है नॉर्थ बंगाल से। चाय बागान का 10 लाख मजदूर का खाना बंद कर दिया था।
The election for the 543 seats to India's lower house of parliament will be held in 7 phases beginning 19th of this month. Nearly 970 million voters are eligible to cast votes in the general election. Counting of the votes will be held on the 4th of June. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And the day also saw the country's main opposition party, the Congress, releasing its poll manifesto. It is promised to lift 23 crore people, that is 230 million people, out of poverty in the next 3 years and create more employment in the country. India's Prime Minister on the campaign trail has hit back, saying the BJP doesn't just make promises but fulfills all its promises as well. Dipendu Mondal reports.
The Congress party on Friday released its manifesto for the 2024 general elections. The manifesto released from the party's headquarters in New Delhi focuses on unemployment, poverty reduction and promises to hold a caste census if elected to power. The party also called its manifesto as the Nyay Patra.
हमारा ये घोषणा पत्र देश के राजनीतिक इतिहास में न्याय के दस्तावेज के रूप में याद किया जाएगा। भारत जोड़ो न्याय यात्रा में 5 पिलर्स पर ध्यान केंद्रित किया गया था। यात्रा के दौरान युवा न्याय, किसान न्याय, नारी न्याय, श्रमिक न्याय और हिस्सेदारी न्याय की घोषणा की गई थी।
The Congress's manifesto, as claimed by the party, is based on Panch Nyay or 5 pillars of justice. The party highlights that if elected to power, it would be providing financial benefits to thousands of people across the country who come from the marginalized sections of the society. The Congress also highlighted that it would be providing an annual income of rupees 1 lakh to all the unemployed youths of the country. Not just employment, the Congress's election manifesto for 2024 Lok Sabha polls also promised to amend the GST bill brought in by the incumbent BJP government. It also talks about scrapping the Agnipath scheme brought by the BJP government for hiring of youths in the Indian Army. The Congress, through its manifesto, also speaks of providing legal civil union rights to the LGBTQ community in India. However, the ruling BJP has hit back at the manifesto or the Nyay Patra of the Congress released on Friday, calling it nothing other than false promises which holds no value in the real world.
भाजपा जो कहती है वो जरूर करती है। दूसरी पार्टियों की तरह भाजपा केवल घोषणा पत्र नहीं जारी करती, हम तो संकल्प पत्र लेकर के आते हैं।
The election to the largest democracy in the world is less than a fortnight away, and all political parties have begun their campaigns in full throttle to woo and influence the voters. But however, whose promises and campaigns influenced the voters will only be clear on June 4th when the results to the biggest ever election conducted is declared. The Dipendu Mondal's report for DD India.
Now, India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, left policy rates unchanged for the 7th consecutive time on Friday. Its Governor Shaktikanta Das highlighted that strong economic growth has given room to the central bank to continue its focus on containing inflation at the 4% target on a durable basis.
The RBI's Monetary Policy Committee maintained status quo on rates as was widely expected while being cautious given the various uncertainties. Highlighting that inflation remains challenging, RBI's MPC decided to keep rates unchanged and maintained a withdrawal of accommodation stance.
The Reserve Bank MPC decided by a majority of 5-1 to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.5%.
GDP forecast for FY25 is retained at 7% and inflation projection for FY25 was also unchanged at 4.5% from the February 2024 policy.
CPI inflation for the current year 24-25 is projected at 4.5%, with Q1 at 4.9%, Q2 at 3.8%, Q3 at 4.6%, and Q4 at 4.5%. The risks are evenly balanced. Inflation has come down significantly but remains above the 4% target.
Core inflation, including services inflation, has been moderating in the last few months. However, the main concern of the central bank is the persistent high food inflation and the adverse impact of that on household inflationary expectations. Experts believe that RBI is likely to change MPC stance and cut rates in the second half of FY25. Until then, there will be a cautious pause by the MPC.
The economic situation is panning out as the MPC expected it to, even in February policy. We could see the window for rate cuts to open up only in second half of FY25. Until then, we see that there will be a cautious pause by the MPC with respect to its policy rates.
Enabling UPI for cash deposit facility, UPI access for prepaid payment instruments through third-party apps, and distribution of central bank digital currency through non-bank payment system operators are some of the additional measures announced by the central bank.
The GDP is robust and the inflation is moderating. However, the task is not over yet. The Reserve Bank of India will remain focused on aligning the target of inflation on durable basis. Shama Mishra, DD India, Mumbai.
And former Principal Economic Advisor to the Government of India, Sanjeev Sanyal, has given a thumbs up to the RBI's latest monetary policy review. He said the growth of the Indian economy remains high while maintaining macroeconomic stability.
The economic assessment of the Monetary Policy Committee, as announced by Governor Shaktikant Das, is spot on in my view. The economy is in good nick. We got very strong growth in the last financial year, about 8% plus, and their assessment is that it will grow at about 7%, which I think is a very good rate. It will still make us the world's fastest growing economy into this financial year as well. But what is important is that this is being achieved while maintaining macroeconomic stability. And I cannot emphasize this more, because it is possible to get occasional spurts of growth, but in order to sustain it, you need to have macro stability. And so here we see that inflation is expected to be around about 4.5%, well within the 2 to 6% range.
And still to come on DD India News are: US President Joe Biden will be in Baltimore shortly to review the situation as far as the collapsed bridge there is concerned and meet the families of those killed in the mishap. Iceland's Prime Minister quits only to announce that she's got a bigger job in mind. Has another eastern Ukrainian city fallen in Russian hands? We'll get you all the details in just a bit.
Why is everybody ready to quit the Congress party, and most particularly those who are associated with its media department?
When we felt that the Congress party did not stand up on issues that were important for this nation.
A spokesperson cannot defend what is indefensible. They do that very heavy cost of their own conscience, and that is when they feel suffocated.
This is now an election between Congress Rahul Gandhi and Congress Narendra Modi. So it's Congress versus Congress in 2024.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gotham Roy. Israel has dismissed 2 senior officers after finding grave errors in the killing of 7 aid workers last week. It also opened new routes for increased flow of aid to Gaza after US President Joe Biden's dire warning to Prime Minister Netanyahu about change in its policy towards Israel if the situation doesn't change in favor of saving lives on the battleground.
As the Israel-Hamas conflict nears its 6-month mark, Israel has dismissed 2 of its officers and formally reprimanded senior commanders after finding grave errors in the strike on aid workers. The move comes after Israel made public the findings of an inquiry into the unintended killings of 7 aid workers in the airstrike in Gaza this week and found serious errors and breaches of procedure by the military. Israel's action has come after US President Joe Biden warned Israel of policy changes if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fails to protect civilians and aid workers in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel has approved a series of steps to ramp up the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's security cabinet agreed to reopen the Erez crossing into northern Gaza and the temporary use of the Ashdod port in southern Israel. In addition to this, the cabinet also agreed to increase Jordanian aid through the Kremem Shalom crossing point located in southern Gaza. The United States welcomed Israel's decision, saying that success would be measured in results in improving the situation on the ground.
What we're looking to see in the days and weeks ahead is prioritization, surging humanitarian assistance, sustaining it, getting it to people who need it, making sure that those who are providing it are safe and secure, and maximizing every effort to protect civilians, those who are caught in this crossfire Hamas is making. We just can't have so many people caught in that crossfire, killed, injured, going forward.
In another attempt to expedite the process of hostage release, CIA Director Bill Burns is likely to travel to Cairo this weekend as per reports. During his visit, he will meet with his Egyptian and Israeli counterparts and the Qatari Prime Minister, trying to reach a breakthrough in talks on releasing hostages held by Hamas. Meanwhile, Palestinian worshippers heading to Jerusalem for prayers at Al-Aqsa Mosque last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan were inspected by Israeli troops at checkpoints in Kalandia near the West Bank city of Ramallah. In Bethlehem as well, the crowds of worshippers were small than in previous numbers, said people who were queuing at checkpoints for several hours. Meanwhile, GPS has been blocked across large parts of Israel in order to disrupt missiles and drones amid the nation's increasing tensions with Iran due to recent airstrike on its embassy compound in Damascus. Israel Defense Force also announced that it was putting on hold all leaves for soldiers serving in combat units. The move comes a day after reservists were called up to bolster air defense units. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's get you more on this with DD India's Alex Kadir from Tel Aviv. Hi Alex, does the action taken by Israel following Joe Biden's stern warning to Netanyahu indicate a significant shift in how it's waging its war against the Hamas with Gazans caught in the crossfire?
Well, it's certainly changing the attitude towards humanitarian aid. At least that is what the Israeli government is trying to give the perspective, or at least give the impression that they have heard the warnings by US President Joe Biden. But to remind our viewers, about 3 weeks ago, the Israeli Defense Forces had said they were changing their posture and they were going to flood Gaza with humanitarian aid. And 3 weeks later, that has not happened. So what we've heard from the United States, while they welcomed that opening of the Erez checkpoint, they welcomed the increase of aid going through the Kerem Shalom checkpoint, they've welcomed Ashdod port being used for humanitarian supplies. They want to see results. They want to see a change on the ground. And Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, was very specific in how that will be measured by the United States, Israel's largest ally. We've also heard from the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, from Josep Borrell, the EU's top diplomat. They've all said it's simply not enough. And it's not just that you need to increase aid. You have to wage this war in a way that allows aid to get to those people who need it. So you have, of course, the risk of starvation for the people of Gaza. We also know that the Israeli hostages being held in Gaza are being starved on a daily basis as well. So that tragic situation, that dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza, needs to be addressed. We also know that Jake Sullivan, the US National Security Advisor, warned his Israeli counterparts that a famine notice could be issued for Gaza in a matter of weeks. That would only be the third time in the 21st century that the UN agencies have issued a famine notice. So clearly that situation is desperate and needs to improve quickly.
Well, let's hope there's more positive movement towards saving lives in the coming days. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. From Tel Aviv, Alex Kadir. As the Israel-Hamas conflict nears its 6-month mark, United Nations Chief Antonio Gutteres on Friday reiterated his call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the conflict, unconditional release of hostages while protecting civilians and allowing for free aid delivery to Gaza.
Nothing can justify the horror unleashed by Hamas in October 7th. And I call for the unconditional release of all the hostages still held by Hamas and other armed groups. Until then, they must be treated humanely, with visits and assistance from the International Committee of the Red Cross.
U.S. President Joe Biden is going to visit Baltimore on Friday to review the situation of the collapsed bridge and meet the families of the deceased. Joe Biden will take an aerial tour of the area where a cargo ship crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge on the 26th of March, killing 6 people. As the construction of the bridge will cost at least $2 billion, there are issues within the government over the allocation of funds. Baltimore is the busiest port in the country, so authorities have opened 2 temporary channels to allow some shallow draft vessels.
6 individuals tragically lost their lives when the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed last week. They were hard workers laboring in the middle of the night to repair potholes on a bridge that tens of thousands of travelers crossed every day. The president will meet with loved ones of those individuals during his trip.
And DD India's Nick Harper has more from Washington, D.C. on Joe Biden's Baltimore visit.
President really trying to do multiple different things. We're told that he will be there to survey the damage of the bridge, including getting an aerial tour of that crash site. He'll then be meeting with first responders and some of those who were involved in that initial response when the bridge came crashing down early last Tuesday morning. But he'll also be there in a capacity of comforter-in-chief. He'll be meeting with the families of the 6 people who died, speaking to them about what took place, trying to give them some counsel after last week's tragedy. And he'll be making a public speech in which he'll be talking about the future of rebuilding that bridge. As you mentioned, a $2 billion price tag is on the reconstruction of that bridge, and there is now a fight underway as to who pays for it and how it gets paid. The Democratic governor of Maryland is pushing Congress to approve federal funds to pay for this bridge. He's arguing that it's not up to the state of Maryland to have to pay for this because this port is hugely important to the economic wealth of the United States as a result of all the cargo traffic that comes in and out of it. However, we have seen a number of funding fights in Congress, a very divided partisan atmosphere there at the moment. And there is that possibility that Republicans, especially in the House where they hold a slim majority, might push back against the idea of the federal government having to foot this $2 billion price tag.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Friday said that the main potential area for dialogue between the United States and Russia is on issues related to strategic security, including space-based weapon systems. Kremlin's reaction came in the backdrop of the U.S. administration's confirmation that Washington plans to put a resolution to the UN Security Council next week to ban the deployment of nuclear weapons in space.
The main potential area for dialogue between the United States and Russia is precisely issues related to strategic security, including those in space. As for the draft, first we need to wait, familiarize ourselves with it.
U.S. employers have exceeded expectations, hiring significantly more workers than anticipated in March, while also increasing wages. The Labour Department's Bureau of Labour Statistics reported that non-farm payrolls surged by 303,000 jobs last month, surpassing economists' forecast of 200,000 jobs. This robust job growth suggests that the economy finished the first quarter of the year on solid footing, potentially postponing anticipated interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Meanwhile, Wall Street's main stock indices opened higher on Friday after stronger than expected March jobs data, pointing to resilience in the labor market. In a video released by Russia's Emergency Situations Ministry, civilians were being evacuated in Russia by rescue teams in boats from flooded areas in a number of regions across the country. Melting snow has caused flooding in several Russian regions. 36 locations across Russia's Siberia and Urals with high water levels blocking 190 low-lying bridges and 120 roads, with over 2,000 residential homes having been flooded. Let's now take a look at some other updates coming in from around the world as well. Icelandic Prime Minister Katrín Jakobsdóttir has announced her resignation from her post and declared her candidacy for the upcoming presidential elections. Jakobsdóttir, who has served as Prime Minister since 2017, made her decision public on Friday, setting the stage for a significant shift in Iceland's political landscape. Giant pumpkins are being displayed at the Panawat Garden in Thailand's Chiang Mai in an exhibition running till the 7th of this month. One of the large pumpkins displayed weighed a staggering 380 kilograms, marking the highest recorded statistic in Thailand's history. A very rare painting by legendary French maestro Claude Monet is expected to fetch up to $25 million in an auction in New York in May. The 1888 painting is currently on display at the Christie's auction house in Paris till the 9th of this month, ahead of the U.S. sale. Unusually high temperatures hit parts of France on Friday ahead of a warmer than usual weekend. Harsh sunlight hits ski slopes in the popular Three Valleys ski complex in the French Alps. Base station temperatures there were expected to come near to about 30 degrees Celsius. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll be talking about the role of manifestos and the like in elections, with representatives of the main political parties battling each other in India's great democratic contest. Pakistan High Court judges received threatening letters laced with suspicious powder, triggering fear and intrigue. And India's Central Board of Secondary Education changes the examination format for Class 11 and 12 exams.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gotham Roy, and before we go any further, another look at some of our top stories. India's Prime Minister and BJP leader Narendra Modi says his party's promises have always been fulfilled. At an election rally in Rajasthan on a day, the Congress releases its manifesto promising caste census and jobs for all. India's central bank keeps key rates unchanged at 6.5% for the 7th time. Also retains FY25 GDP growth rate estimate at 7%. RBI governor says focus remains on aligning inflation to the 4% target. And Israel dismisses 2 senior officers after finding grave errors in the killing of 7-8 workers. Also agrees to open new routes for increased flow of aid to Gaza after US President Joe Biden's dire warning to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Let's now talk about the great Indian election which is taking place, unfolding each passing day. We're getting closer to the polling dates. The first phase will be commencing pretty soon. We're talking today about the kind of election promises that various political parties or coalitions make. Today, the principal opposition party, the Congress, has come out with its manifesto, which it calls its a Nyay Patra, or a Charter of Justice. A range of promises have been made related to the environment, to the economy, to how India's perception has been built up in the last 10 years abroad as well, and for the poor and women as well. But we are asking questions related to the manifesto itself in terms of its relevance and efficacy. Joining us now to talk about it is the spokesperson of the Congress, Sujata Paul, and we also have the BJP spokesperson with us, Shaina NC. Good evening to you both. First to you, Sujata Paul. Just tell us, in this day and age, when a lot of politics is being played around personalities and a lot of rancor as well, all kinds of statements being made, to what extent do you feel the manifestos are able to grab the people's attention?
A manifesto is always about the vision of a party and the vision that it has for the people of the country and how we will take the country forward. And therefore, our manifesto today is obviously related to our ideology, and it pushes forward that can I continue?
Yes, go ahead.
That idea, yes. So it is about pushing forward the principles enshrined in the Constitution. When we talk about our manifesto as a Nyay Patra and a Sankalpa for Nyay or a Sankalpa for Justice, then it is about the women, about the youth, and we are a young country, about farmers, about our workers, and also about Bhagidari. And when we talk about what we want to give to the people of the country today, after 10 years of misrule of the BJP, we want to tell everybody that we have a vision for you and the country, because unless and until you progress, the country does not progress. And this is from the bottom onwards that we will build it up. Whereas the BJP has been a completely opposite, at the opposite end, because it talks about how it will bring its vision down from the top. So it's only about the vision of one man. Our manifesto is based on the suggestions that were given to us by the people. So
well, I doubt if Shaina NC agrees with that, but let's get her to respond to what you've just said. Shaina NC, what do you make of this whole process of bringing manifestos, in front of people come elections? Because Prime Minister Modi, the person who speaks for the party, really is saying that we don't really believe in manifestos. We come up with guarantees.
So is it really a Nyay Patra or an Anyay Patra? They talk about, the kind of Nyay they want to do for the women of this country. And I want to say, just recently, you've had Mr. Shiva Shankarappa saying that women should be limited to the kitchen. You've had Supriya Srinath talking about Mandi mein kya rate hai. You have Mr. Rahul Gandhi misusing the word Shakti, or rather the kind of connotation for the word Shakti. And then you have Randeep Surjewala, who talks about Hema Malini, who happens to be the same age as Sonia Gandhi. So this party is clearly anti-women. So this Nyay Patra and saying that, oh, we stand up for women and we stand up for other issues, I want to say trial, tested, delivered. This is the first time after 10 years you don't have an anti-incumbency, you have a pro-incumbency. Prime Minister Modi has delivered on all fronts. You look at the economy, 2004 to 2014 we were number 11. Today we are not only the 5th, we are the largest growing economy, and we will definitely be the 3rd largest in the country. Infrastructure at its best. Look at the connectivity, be it railways, airports or even highways. The fact that you have 60 crore Labhartis benefiting through welfare schemes, and these have touched the lives of every single Indian, be it Mudra banking, be it Jan Dhan Yojana, Awas Yojana, Shauchalays, or making sure that even in Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat 5 lakh is a cover. The fact that you have 13 crore homes which have been given, 18 crore Shauchalays, which is toilets, and of course 25 crore which were below poverty line coming out. So trial tested is the actual patra, and only if you have a vision plan where you have delivered on ground will people repose faith. Look at the kind of disarray in a party where you have only one family to talk about. I say with pride, I am a Karyakarta of the largest political party in the world, with the most popular leader that we have ever had in Prime Minister Modi. His hard work, his humility, his non-corruption pace is something which is a referendum for one and all, and that's why the stability that we are looking for in the days to come, the political will that we are looking for, is all a part of this commitment of ours in Modi ki guarantee and Ab Ki Baar 400 Par.
All right, let me put that to Sujata Paul. Sujata Paul, what Shaina NC is saying is that the BJP and the NDA, its coalition, has delivered upon its promises, and it's taken action and showing on the ground. Now, what the Congress or the UPA once, when it used to be UPA, now of course it's the India Alliance, it could also say that, when we were in power, we had promised and delivered on these fronts. But what is being highlighted right now, of course, is things like desertion and even cases of corruption being raked up from the past.
Well, as far as corruption is concerned, all those people who were accused of corruption are now have been into the Lotus washing machine with Modi washing powder and some kind of a hardener which has actually taken that dirt out and washed it away. But it still stays in the muck inside that washing machine, because a lotus always blooms in muck. But having said that, the fact is that the National Food Security Mission was brought in by us. The act was brought in by us in 2013, and thankfully so, when during Corona and the bad state of economy of our country, it was this particular act which ensured that every person in our country would have food. But isn't it ironical that on the one hand, the BJP tells us about data which shows that they've done a whole lot of things and the country is progressing, but there are 80 crore people who are still dependent on that free ration. Why? They say that making pakoras is also work, but we feel that any person who sells pakoras would want their children to become doctors and engineers. So we have always worked towards ensuring that people get the platform that they want. And today, when we say that we are going to ensure that all the vacant positions in the government are going to be filled, when we say that the number of Anganwadis are going to be increased to a large extent, and our young people who are looking for jobs, the moment they
and where will you find the resources to do all this? When you say there will be a GST 2.0 where there will be a single moderate rate which won't put that much of a burden on the poor, so where will you have the resources?
Where has the government got the resources to give the food today to people, the 5 kilo ration? Because we brought in this particular act, right? So we had a vision. And Manrega, if you remember, what Mr. Modi said was that ye aapki vifaltaon ka smarak hoga, and now we are saying that we are going to ensure that every person who comes under Manrega, works under Manrega, will get 400 rupees. What does that mean? That we have a vision. Of course, the BJP has shown that in its politics itself, they don't have leaders with a vision. They don't have leaders who can fight situations. Dr. Manmohan Singh, even when the global financial crisis was going on in 2008, We didn't feel it. Why? Because there was a Dr. Manmohan Singh and his team. Today, we see that the government doesn't know who is going to be presenting a budget. Of course, luckily, for the last few years, we have Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. Before that, the railway minister would be presenting some other budget, somebody else would be presenting some other budget.
Let's get Shaina NC to respond to that. Shaina NC, the Congress is saying that they have a vision and they know how to do things. They've done it in the past as well. And they say that what the BJP has been doing is it's been playing with numbers. How do you respond to that?
So yes, they do have a vision. The vision is called appeasement politics. All the Congress has ever done is give freebies, subsidies, sops, and look at what they've done for the so-called Dalits and Muslims of this country. They have only kept them as a mere vote bank. On the other hand, Prime Minister Modi has done away with this Jat-Paat Dharm ki Rajniti and has said there are only 4 vote banks. One is the women of India, who have been given the kind of financial empowerment, security, education, all as a primary goal of this government. Then second is the youth, who have been given the best facilities, technology to use and empower as a country at large. The third is the farmers of this country, and we know that the Swaminathan report has been implemented. 6,000 rupees in each farmer's bank account in itself is a Herculean task, but the Prime Minister has done it. And then you have, of course, the Labhartis and the people who are below poverty line, who have been empowered through the various welfare schemes. Having said that, the Bharatiya Janata Party does not believe in freebie subsidy sops, has talked about empowering the lives of every Indian and taking India on the world map. Prime Minister Modi has made us proud. Being Indian, being Bharatiya, belonging to this country is a matter of pride for every single one of us. And in 2024, let me please tell you, on June 4th when we debate, we will know where who stands and who has been given this mandate of this intelligent electorate.
Well, definitely that is where it will all boil down to, and I guess it all depends on what kind of leadership is provided and what kind of a narrative, which side builds up the stronger narrative to lead it to victory. Thanks a lot for joining us and talking about it this evening, both Sujata Paul as well as Shaina NC. Now, in Pakistan, several judges have received threatening letters laced with white powder suspected to be anthrax. The Pakistani Counter-Terrorism Department has said it received the forensic report of the powder found in mysterious letters sent to the judges of the High Courts and Supreme Court. 4 Pakistan Supreme Court judges, 8 Islamabad High Court judges and 6 Lahore High Court judges received threatening letters which led to fear and concerns among the members of the Pakistani judiciary. Lahore High Court Judge Ali Bakar Najafi was the latest to receive the threatening letter. India is set to launch its Agniban sorted mission at 6:05 hours IST from the Agnikul launch pad at the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Andhra Pradesh on Saturday. The Agniban suborbital technology demonstrator will showcase the capabilities of India's new semi-cryogenic engine, the Agni-Let, and the rocket's technology. The Agni-Let is the first single-piece 3D printed semi-cryogenic rocket engine in the world. The rocket is 18 meters long with a diameter of 1.3 meters and a lift-off mass of 14,000 kilograms. It will be capable of placing a 100 kg satellite into a 700 kilometer orbit. This is India's first launch from a private launch pad. Agniban sorted will lift off vertically and follow a predetermined trajectory while performing a precisely orchestrated set of maneuvers during flight. Now let's get you some more national updates. India's Central Board of Secondary Education has said it has changed the examination format for classes 11 and 12 from the academic year 2024-25. Under the new format, the CBSE exams will focus on concept application questions instead of long-form answers. And still to come on DD India News are the number of tourists visiting the World Heritage Site of Kaziranga with the rhinos breaks all previous records. Rafael Nadal pulls out of the upcoming Monte Carlo Masters.
why is everybody ready to quit the Congress party, and most particularly those who are associated with its media department?
When we felt that the Congress party did not stand up on issues that were important for this nation.
A spokesperson cannot defend what is indefensible. They do that very heavy cost of their own conscience, and that is when they feel suffocated.
This is now an election between Congress Rahul Gandhi and Congress Narendra Modi. So it's Congress versus Congress in 2024.
%71% of our planet is just water, and a majority of this is in our ocean. So let's dive into this today and try to understand the importance of oceans, the threats that they face, and the conservation efforts being made.
Start the Adopt a Coral program.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gotham Roy. Now, in a swift operation, Indian Coast Guard has rescued 27 Bangladeshi fishermen on Thursday, stranded on their fishing boat at sea. At about 11:30 hours on Thursday, Indian Coast Guard ship Amog, during patrol at Indo-Bangladesh International Maritime Border Line, sighted a Bangladeshi fishing boat Sagar 2 adrift inside Indian waters. ICG's ship launched a boarding team to investigate. During investigation, it was revealed that the boat had a steering gear breakdown for the last 2 days and had been adrift since then, which led to the boat drifting into Indian waters. The Bangladeshi fishing boat had 27 fishermen on board. The operation reflects the commitment of the Indian Coast Guard towards safeguarding precious lives at sea against all odds. The 61st National Maritime Day in India is being celebrated across the nation today. The day commemorates the historic embarkation of the first Indian-owned vessel SS Loyalty on a maiden voyage from Mumbai to London, which took place on the 5th of April back in 1999.
The National Maritime Day in India holds significant importance in commemorating the maritime heritage and acknowledging the contributions of the maritime sector to the nation's growth and development. The history of the National Maritime Day dates back to April 5th, 1919, when the Indian-owned steamship SS Loyalty embarked on its maiden voyage from Bombay to the United Kingdom.
Currently, in terms of the ship tonnage, we are at 22nd rank. And it is our desire as a country, as a system, we are working towards this. By 2030, we will be top 10. And it is our, again, ambition, aspiration by 2047, we will be in top 5 countries of the world.
In recent years, there has been a renewed focus on leveraging India's vast coastline and maritime resources to boost trade, tourism and blue economy sectors. Initiatives like Sagarmala and Amritkal Vision 2047 are aimed at unlocking the full potential of the maritime sector and driving inclusive development across coastal regions.
Plans and the various steps are very well defined, and how the systematic this improvement, these milestones will be achieved. These are very well defined, and as a country, as an industry, regulator, our ministry, all shipping companies will work towards this.
By fostering innovation, promoting sustainability and strengthening cooperation, it can be ensured that India emerges as a global maritime powerhouse in the years to come. As India continues to strengthen its maritime infrastructure, policies and capabilities, it is poised to play a prominent role in the global maritime arena, trade and sustainable development. Shama Mishra, DD India, Mumbai.
The Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve, located in the northeastern state of Assam, has received a record number of tourists this year. The number of tourists visiting the World Heritage Site of Kaziranga this year has broken all previous records. The total number of tourists visiting Kaziranga in 2023-24 tourism year has been 327,493, of which 313,574 have been domestic tourists and 13,919 have been foreign tourists. The Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve received a total revenue of 8 crore rupees 184,161 from tourists. This is certainly a source of hope for the tourism industry in the state, which has been devastated by the coronavirus in the last years, as informed by Nayanjyoti Rajbongshi. Deputy Conservator of Forests, Kaziranga National Park. And you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now to get you some sporting updates as well. Now, Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Friday announced that the UK is investing $44 million and a package that is £35 million in grassroots cricket facilities. It's widening access to sports within state schools in the latest move by the government to get 1 million more young people physically active by 2030. The package will be mainly used for the construction of 16 all-weather domes in cities that will host T20 World Cup matches in 2026 and 2030. England and Wales are set to host the 2026 Women's T20 World Cup, while England, Scotland and Ireland will host the 2030 men's edition, with Rishi Sunak saying the domes will help participation in cricket throughout the year at the grassroots level. Sunak met England's cricket players and participants in the ACE charity program and told children he practiced nets himself at the cricket ground secretly. ACE runs school and community programs in the UK to coach young cricket players from underrepresented groups and attracts them to a game they might otherwise not have access to. These include young people from African and or Caribbean backgrounds and inner city children. Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from the upcoming Monte Carlo Masters, saying his body is not yet ready for competition. The 37-year-old Spaniard, who has said he expects to retire after the 2024 season, returned to competition in Brisbane in January. This was after almost a year that he was sidelined with a hip flexor injury, but has not played an ATP event since. The Monte Carlo Masters begins on Sunday. Nadal has won the event a record 11 times, with his last victory coming in 2018. Liverpool reclaimed the Premier League lead in an enthralling title race as Alexis McAllister's thunderbolt late header by Cody Gakpo secured a nervy 3-1 home victory over bottom club Sheffield United. Jurgen Klopp's side have 70 points from 30 games, 2 ahead of Arsenal and 3 more than champions Manchester City, both of whom won on Wednesday to crank up the pressure. A bizarre opener by Darwin Núñez after 17 minutes when he closed down keeper Ivo Grbić and blocked his attempted clearance into the net looked set to open the floodgates as Liverpool sought the win they needed to dislodge Arsenal from the top spot. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as a break here on DD India. I'm Gotham Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.